As Prime Minister Justin Trudeau gets ready to host a Canada-U.S. economic summit on Friday, calls from the opposition to recall Parliament are getting louder.
They're in the middle of a Liberal Party power struggle. Again, concerned about themselves, their own self-interest, rather than immediately recalling Parliament so that we can pass a Canada First plan.
Well, the Conservatives and the NDP say they want to work together to pass measures aimed at protecting the economy. But they're also promising to vote down the government once Parliament reopens. So joining us this morning from Ottawa is Marika Walsh, senior political reporter with the Globe and Mail. Good morning.
Good morning, Anne-Marie.
So that summit is happening on Friday in Toronto, and it has a few goals. It says they want to grow the economy, break down trade barriers, and diversify export markets, or explore which ones we can change. What, if any, changes that come out of this summit could be implemented if Parliament is still prorogued?
Well, there actually are several changes on regulatory issues that don't need the House of Commons or provincial legislature to make those changes in governments across the country and federally if they so choose to. It's called the Canada-U.S. Economic Summit, but the focus of the summit, if you read the press release, as you mentioned, is really focused on where else to grow the economy and make money for Canadians outside of the U.S. because of the uncertainty presented by Donald Trump. There are regulations that could be brought down by premiers, although not in Ontario because they're in a caretaker mode, but they could also be done here. But it's a question of what can actually be done quickly when we have a 30-day timeline ticking down on us for the next tariff deadline.
I know we keep saying 30 days, but time is ticking. I think we're at 28 or something like that now. Listen, the opposition parties say they want to work with the Liberals to pass potential tariff relief and response measures, but we know they've also pledged to vote down the government the first chance they get. So how can they do both?
Well, that's really the question, right? I think no matter how you look at it, the Canadian economy, the Canadian government is in a challenging position. We have a lame duck prime minister who is about to be replaced on March 9th, but we do not know by who. And the opposition parties are doing two things. Yes, there are things the House of Commons could be doing if it was sitting, absolutely. But they're also trying to insert themselves back into a conversation that has really sidelined them because of the fight with Donald Trump. It's no longer about what's happening in Ottawa. It's what's happening between Ottawa and Washington. And that puts the focus on the Prime Minister's office and his cabinet. The issue for the Liberals is that they don't have a partner they can actually trust in the House of Commons to bring back the House and not face defeat. The NDP now say they would not defeat the government before the end of March, but the NDP have said a lot of different things in the last 7 months, and the Liberals no longer trust them. And you can imagine even more chaos that would come if the opposition parties defeated the government with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau still the Liberal Party leader and the Liberals still in a leadership race. So the Conservatives are not wrong that there are self-interest from the Liberals going at hand, but there's also other competing issues at play.
Yeah, it's really a case of triage in this crisis for sure. And again, you have to go back to the calendar. Beginning of March, we could see tariffs, or who knows, maybe they get pushed down the road again. We don't know that for sure. Then you've got the leadership announcement coming on the 9th. Then you've got Parliament coming back at the end of the month, and then potentially an election after that, which is why we brought you in today, because there's so much happening south of the border. We want to keep our eyes here as well. So how
and to add some more complications to that, the new Liberal leader could on March 10th decide to trigger an election then. They don't have to wait until Parliament returns for them to be defeated in the House.
Right.
So there's a lot of uncertainty in the next 2 months in Canadian politics and Canadian economics.
Oh, our favorite. How early then could a non-confidence vote be put forward?
Well, it depends on, a non-confidence vote would have to come after a throne speech, which is the start of a return to Parliament after prorogation. That's right now scheduled for March 24th. But as I mentioned, that could not happen at all if the new Liberal leader chooses to trigger an election instead.
Right.
Or if there's something, for example, during the pandemic when the CERB, you'll remember that employment support for Canadians was brought in, that needed an act of Parliament to be passed. So if something catastrophic happened in the economy, there is a lever that the government does not have to spend that kind of money that's needed. And I think what the government's saying is they do not foresee that need coming in the next 2 months. But that is a question. That would be a confidence vote. The NDP now say they would support the government on such a measure, But again, their comments have been evolving, and so it's hard to know which one to believe. For example, the NDP agreed to support the Liberals' $250 checks last fall, and then when they saw the pushback from seniors that those checks wouldn't go to seniors, they reversed course. So you can see why it's challenging to navigate anything through the House of Commons right now.
One other thing that we want to keep an eye on is where the Conservatives are at. At the end of December, Nanos polls had the Conservatives ahead by 26 points, ahead of the Liberals. And then the most recent poll, Tuesday, shows that lead has shrunk to 16 points. So still double digits, but down by 10. So while the spring election looked very likely before, are we likely to see one now, given this uncertainty around tariffs and when they could officially kick in?
It's such a fascinating question, Anne-Marie, because we also don't know what the ballot box question will be anymore, right?
Right.
In November and December, we knew what the election would look like. We do not anymore. And that's led to a lot of uncertainty, a lot of sort of up and down and a variety in the polls that I think will take some time to even out, if it does even out, because right now people are assigning an idea about who the Liberal Party leader will be. They don't actually know who the Liberal Party leader is. The Conservatives still enjoy a huge margin, a huge lead, according to that Nanos poll. But that Nanos poll also includes data from up to 3 or 4 weeks ago. And so how that changes over the next few months could be dramatic, could be remarkable, but we just do not know. I think more important than the gap between the Conservatives and the Liberals, which still remains incredibly healthy for the Conservatives, they're still doing very well, is the gap with the NDP. If the Liberals keep climbing on the NDP, you can understand that it would be harder to see the NDP actually defeating the government because the election wouldn't necessarily turn out very well for them. It's just that the NDP might not get the chance to make that choice because the new Liberal leader could trigger an election before they even have a confidence vote.
So much uncertainty. Marika, here's something that we do know. We do know that this is your last official hit with us here at Your Morning because you are taking some time off to add to your family. So we want to wish you, on behalf of us all here at Your Morning, congratulations. Enjoy your maternity leave. We have, if we're not watching you on Your Morning, we are reading you in the Globe and Mail. You've done incredible work always, but in particular in this last time in Canadian politics.
Thank you so much.
So all the best.
Thank you.
Listen, having a newborn is going to be nothing compared to what you've covered in the last 6 months.
It's going to be a different kind of chaos for a year, that's for sure.
You can handle it. We wish you all. If you liked that video, make sure to subscribe to the Your Morning YouTube feed where you can find all kinds of new content posted every weekday morning.